Paddington in Peru, the third installment in the franchise about the marmalade-loving CGI bear. This time we get to follow Paddington and the Brown family as they travel across the globe to Peru to find Paddington's missing Aunt Lucy, and along the way they find out some secrets about Paddington's past. What up, guys? I'm Tyler, and this is Movie News Recap, and I got the special chance to go see Paddington in Peru ahead of its American release at a special advanced screening this past Saturday. I'm here to tell you all my thoughts, opinions, and spoiler-free review about this movie before you go see it this February 14th in theaters. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. I absolutely love the original two Paddington movies. The way that their wholesome storytelling and humor just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside is just something I cannot explain, and I just have to give it up to some sort of cinematic magic, but they do. Now, in the first movie, Paddington moves to London after a huge earthquake hits Peru, and his Aunt Lucy has to send him there to find a new family to raise him. During this time, he finds the Brown family while trying to stay away from an evil taxidermist trying to add him to her collection. In the sequel, he is starting to become accustomed to life in London when he gets wrongfully thrown in jail. There, he dyes all the uniforms pink and makes the inmates fall in love with marmalade until he is let out of prison to live a happy life. Now, Paddington Peru takes place a few years later than the last time we saw this family. The Browns' family dynamic has completely changed and the kids are quite a bit older. I actually love the way they keep finding new ways to evolve these kids so that we see them actually growing up like actual kids would. Now, Paddington at this point has become a full-fledged British citizen with a passport. And at this time, we see in the trailer, Aunt Lucy has gone missing from the home for retired bears in Peru, and Paddington and the Brown family decide that they have to go find Aunt Lucy themselves. Now, one of my only fears for this whole movie was our new director, Dougal Wilson, because I absolutely loved everything Paul King did in the original two Paddington movies to give it that magic, that I was afraid that maybe this one wouldn't hit the mark and we kind of lose some of that. But I have to say, Dougal completely nailed that magic, and it felt the exact same. A complete transition between 2 and 3, not really any break, and I have to applaud him for that. But at the middle of the first act, when we finally get to Peru, we go to the home for retired bears where Aunt Lucy was supposed to be. And there's this little song and dance sequence that you'll know when you see it. I just really felt like it slowed the whole movie down. I just didn't love it. I think the movie would have been better without it. But that's really only one of my major complaints about this whole movie, was a little song and dance sequence that was still fun. Just didn't really see a point for it. But after the song and dance sequence, the plot really starts to get moving, and we meet Hunter Cabot, played by Antonio Banderas, and I just gotta say, I absolutely loved every time he was on screen. You most likely probably know Antonio from playing Puss in Boots in the Shrek movies because his voice is so iconic from that. But not only does he play one character named Hunter, he actually plays a whole group of characters, and he did an amazing job with that. On top of playing all these characters, his daughter is also on this boat with him, and she's actually more of the captain than she actually knows how to drive the boat. But from here, they hire them out to take them out down the Amazon to go find Aunt Lucy, and this is where the hijinks truly ensues. Now, from here on out, I'm not going to give you guys too much more detail about the story, because if I did, this would become a spoiler review, and we're not going to let that happen. I want you guys to find out all the twists and turns in the theater itself. But with that being said, I do have to say that the second act is split up into 3 different parts. The first part is going to be Mrs. Bird and the Reverend Nun, played by Olivia Colman. And this part was pretty fun just because of all the stuff Miss Bird gets into. Then the next part we have is actually going to be the Brown family and Cabot's daughter. And I really, really love this part just because of how much fun it was to see Mr. Brown have no control of this situation and trying to act all cool and collected about it, even though he had no clue what was going on. And if you've seen any of these movies, you know Mr. Brown needs to know what's going on or he will not handle it well. And then the final part of this was actually my bread and butter of the entire movie, and that was all of Antonio's characters interacting with Paddington, and I just loved this whole interaction and this chemistry between the characters, and it just left me with a smile on my face the entire time they were on screen together. So with that being said, the second act does pick up a lot in the action and carry into the third act as well. And all this stuff I really, really did love, and I just had a huge smile. My whole theater, along with myself, was just laughing and chuckling at the whole thing. And then there was even one part in this that you do see in the trailer where Paddington has his own Indiana Jones-esque run and escape of a boulder through like these like ruins that I absolutely did adore. And I had a huge smile on my face the entire time, and I think it was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I actually was kind of sad when that scene did end because it was so much fun. Now, with that being said, I've talked so much about what I love about this movie because it is an amazing movie, but there were some few things that I did have some problems with, and we need to talk about those as well. My first big problem was actually the song and dance sequence I already mentioned at the beginning of this video. I absolutely just did not see the rhyme or reason or point of this at all. It just felt really forced and just put a stop in the whole flow of the plot. I didn't really think that we needed it, and if anything, it just kind of stopped everything. But other than that, there wasn't a huge problem that I had with this whole movie. The next thing, though, that I had a little problem with was Olivia Colman's character of the Reverend Nun. It just didn't seem like it made much sense to have her in there until the very, very end. She kind of just seemed forced. But I did really like where they ended her at the end of the movie, so I am okay with her character. Just I feel like they should have added more of a reason for her to be there through the first and second act. And then finally, not really a problem with the movie, just a personal complaint. I love Mrs. Bird, and we did not get enough of her whatsoever in this, and we definitely need more Mrs. Bird if we get a fourth Paddington movie. And with the way they ended this, I think we might get another one. But with that being said, other than that, I didn't have any other problems, especially with the third one not really being a problem, just a personal complaint that I wanted more of a character in there. So with that being said, you're probably wondering, would I recommend this movie to you, and what was my actual review of this movie? So I'm going to go ahead and give that to you right now. I will start out by saying I 100% recommend this movie. I would give it a 10 out of 10 enjoyment rating, and I think this is a perfect movie for a family night out. I think there's enough in here that everybody's going to find something they're going to love. And if you even don't have another movie you want to go see on Valentine's Day, if you don't want to see one of those R-rated movies that are out this year, go see this one. You're going to have a fun time. You're going to feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, and it's going to give you that same type of feel that like a good rom-com would maybe even give you. With that being said, though, I do think this is the second best out of the three Paddington movies. I think it is better than the original, but not as good as the second. But that second one holds a special place in my heart, and it is like one of my comfort movies, so I'm not really surprised that it didn't hit that level of like peak cinema for me. But with that being said, I do think as a critical rating, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10, because although I love this movie so much, there were some flaws that I didn't exactly love with this movie, so I can't give it a perfect rating. But I think it was still good enough to get an 8.5, which is still really, really high for a movie. So with all that being said, let me know if you're going to see this movie this weekend down there in the comment section. If you did see it already at one of these advanced screenings, let me know what you thought about it. And you Brits over there that already got this movie, lucky you. Let me know what you thought about it too. Anyways, until next time, I'm Tyler. Take care.